Hey guys, Veebat here with another V Plays, and we are in the Vampire F1 yet again. This has been specialized since the first time I did a video on this airframe, and for a lot of you who are unfamiliar, this is something you can earn. You can earn this for free by doing a series of missions, and the harder missions I highly recommend using tokens to skip through those, so that way you can continue on the grind and get yourself a free Tier 8 premium, and you'll see why at the end of the battle with the amount of credits you can really rack in. This aircraft isn't like your typical light fighter. The altitude bracket in which it operates in, you'd expect it to be much turnier, but it isn't. It has really sacrificed a lot of that for speed and then for gunpowder. The 420mm cannons are going to be very reminiscent of all of the other 20mm cannons we have in the British line, and they do have much higher what should I say? They have a much tighter grouping because they're all packed in the nose of the airframe instead of being on the wings like they are in a Spitfire. And we lit that aircraft on fire, so I'm not too worried about him. The real strength of this aircraft is you're a jet at Tier 8, so you're really fast. The maneuverability seems low, but the maneuverability is actually pretty good considering how fast this aircraft is. You're not really sacrificing much, but don't expect to get into a straight turning fight, and you'll see why as we get later into this battle. But picking an isolated target, getting guns on target, blitzing towards it, and just ripping it apart is what you're really good for. And don't be fooled by the altitude bracket. The setup we've gone for after some testing and modification is more of a speed build, and that allows us to be able to get up to altitudes you wouldn't typically expect this aircraft to get to. So it works really well as a interceptor, like from below, kind of coming up on bombers or unsuspecting altitude fighters. By doing up and over turns, we're actually maximizing the potential energy, because by doing an up and over turn, you're sacrificing your altitude, or you're sacrificing your speed in order to gain altitude. So on the back side of that, as you come back down on the target, you're actually gaining some more energy by using the altitude as kind of an accelerant. We are chasing down this F2G Corsair here. This is the other player on the enemy team, and I was a little bit concerned about him, but as you can see, we're able to maintain chase on him fairly effectively. We have gone with a boost injector, which takes away some of your overall boost time, so there's only 5 seconds here, but we actually rolled a decrease of 5% on the time it takes to regain boost, so we're getting our boost back that much faster. Since we are specialized, I actually have 2 slots for the engines, so I used one of them for a cooler, and that allows me to be able to blitz over here. I want to try and get this mining plant before the enemy can fully take it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to intercept this TU-2 using my speed. And as you saw, we were getting well over 500 miles an hour, which is very, very respectable for this tier. And then, again, we're outside of our altitude bracket, but you can see it's fairly easy for us to get up here, maintain speed by kind of dabbing at that boost a little bit, enough for us to be able to get on this JU-288 Alpha, and we've knocked that aircraft out, saving us a substantial amount of the capture time. So we're going to come down here. Maybe there's going to be a ground attacker coming in next. That's what I was hoping for. I do see that this site only has a little bit left, and this is actually a light target. This is going to be one of these rare instances where it's worth your time to put guns on a ground target using a fighter aircraft. And now I see that there's a ME-262 heavy fighter vectoring in on some of my bombers, and this would be really bad if he was able to kill our bomber. He'd actually get the same amount of capture points that I had gotten for killing their bombers. So I'm going to try and get on this heavy and knock him out, and you'll see that we're well above where we should be. We're starting to get towards the red here, but we managed to take out a lot of control surfaces on this 262. He's trying to slow down to stay on this 288, and I don't want him to come back into the zone and give me a hard time. We took out his engine. We're starting to get up to about 9,000 feet. I see that he's starting to turn back towards the zone, and I would love to kill him in the zone, but I see I'm way too high. I'm struggling to maintain control, so I just gotta finish him off, despite the fact that I probably could have been able to get much more of the capture here. There's the ground attacker I knew was going to be coming into this zone. We're dipping that nose. We're getting up to good speed. I see the TU-2 is here, so we're going to get guns on the TU-2. This is going to take a lot of time. He has a lot of health, and despite the fact that I have 420s, it's still going to be a bit of an effort because they do overheat fairly quickly. I'm going to go ahead and drop below him since he just left the zone, and I'm outside of the field of fire of his guns. That's why I'm getting so low and kind of underneath him and off to the side. And now that he is back into the zone, low health, we can finish him off, and now we've captured the zone because we were helping our allies out by targeting these enemy aircraft. So don't think just because there's a mining plant that you can't actually help in the capture. You can help in the capture. I'd say that if it wasn't for us being here, we would have never gotten this zone. And we brought it back from the brink of being captured by the enemy. I don't want to leave this 265 here because if I leave him here, we'll be in trouble. You'll see that I departed. I'm coming back in from the side, slightly underneath, and I minimized any tail gunner damage he was going to bring against me. And we put a very serious amount of damage on him on the initial pass. And that is a very effective tactic for going after a ground attacker, especially when they have nasty tail gunner capabilities. We have activated our boost cooler, and we are going to climb again outside of our normal altitude envelope, but we're up into the upper 300s, 400s, and we were able to give chase. Now, it wasn't just us that killed that aircraft. It was definitely that heavy putting a ton of the work in, but we were able to help out, and should that heavy have failed or just couldn't connect the shots because it is a bot, we were there to try and augment the damage. We're really lucky here that F.7F was able to intercept that other bomber as well, so now that freed me up to try and get the airfield back. There is an F.4U4 Corsair here. You can see I'm going for the up and over turn. I'm kind of stalling the aircraft out a little bit, slowing down, and then by tapping that boost it lets me get the nose over that much more effectively. Getting guns on that F.4U4, and now I see an LA-9. Not sure what is happening here with the false indicators, but he's trying to do kind of a death roll on us here. We took out his engine. He tried to focus on the Yak-3, which was a mistake on that bot's part because that opened him up for an attack on us. I'm a little bit confused as to which target to go after. There's a lot of red arrows here, but I do see that the F4U4 is here again. But I'm not dedicating myself to one singular target. I bring that engine back up, and then I see that the F2G is on me, and I think I should be able to outturn him based on my setup. I have a fairly balanced build here. There's a lot put into the speed, but I still have lightweight wing frame on, so I should be able to get around on him, but he just is maintaining his chase on me, which leads me to believe that he probably has a different setup, and there's an LA-9 here, so I hit the boost cooler, nose down, throttle up, try and get out of the zone, because I don't want to hinder my team by dying in the zone. We're getting a bit of separation here, and that F2G, a very dangerous aircraft, especially in a player's hands, and we are getting as much departure as we can. Now, I initially think, you know what, if I put the nose up, maybe I can get him in the climb because I do have pretty good altitude performance in this aircraft. You know, even though it's outside my envelope, we've already seen it work so effectively before, but he's still closing the distance. I'm running out of map. I know I'm going to have to turn back on him. So I bring the nose down. I lost my engine again. You actually tend to lose the engine a lot because it is located in the rear of the aircraft. I'm able to get guns on a little bit here, but that means that he can get his guns on. He takes me out, squall line. It's pretty much over. But you'll see we're really far ahead on capture points, and we got 31 seconds before we get that big hit of points coming in. I think it's 80 points every 120 seconds from a mining facility, which it averages out to being about 2 zones. It counts as having 2 zones as long as the ticker keeps rolling over. So we have 2 zones to their 3 right now. The ticker is about to click over. Where's my timer? Any second now. There it is. 83, because there's also the 3 every 5 seconds that comes in from just having the mining plant passively. And there's our 600. Good game to you, sir. It was a solid fight. Very interested in what his setup is. Let's go ahead and get to the hangar and take a more detailed look at how we did in this battle and what the results were for credit income. Alright, so another solid fight here. Taking advantage of the speed of the platform, it turned out to work out pretty well for us. As you can see, we racked up 301,000 credits on this and 13,000 for our triple. Bearing in mind, no, we didn't complete one of the objectives that would have given us 1.5 or 1.3 multiplier, but still, we brought in a ton of experience for the pilot that we're trying to train up as probably an alternate to the Spit 14, since we are going to keep that in the hangar. So we see here pilot experience 29,000. Again, we are converting it. That's something I highly recommend unless you are planning on spending a lot of gold to convert free experience, which is not something I plan to do. But make sure you click that accelerate crew button underneath crew training in order to get that to happen if you're unfamiliar. Otherwise, you'll end up in a situation where I am at with like nearly 1 million free experience waiting to be converted, but just don't have the gold to do it or the wherewithal to spend that much money on it. So, but yeah, great result for us. And again, for the setup, what we've opted for is I actually swapped out. I had uprated engine in here along with the lightweight power unit, which gave us a little bit more maneuverability. But with the current setup, we're able to take full advantage of the speed with the gas turbine, and that complements the uprated engine. And the gas turbine, while it seems like it's not such a great idea because we only have 6 seconds to boost, to remove a whole second of boost time to try and get some more acceleration, but as you can see, you can roll a bonus characteristic here for engine cooldown rate, and then we also have +1 to acceleration when boost active. But if I wanted to try and reassemble this, there is a possibility to roll engine cooldown rate 10%, so that's something we may opt for in the future if we try to re-roll this. But for the time being, I'm happy with the setup. It does very well. You just use it as kind of a boom and zoom platform with pretty good maneuverability. I fly it more like I would low altitude heavy or a multi-roll in a lot of cases. With a 10.1 second turn time, as a fighter, you're not so good in the altitude bracket, but again, if I were to compare this to a lot of the other multi-rolls, so like your Corsairs, or you compare it to, let's go so far as to say the J7W1, which has really good turn time, we're still pretty comparable, but we have much higher speed thresholds, so we'll be able to get the edge on those aircraft. I'm willing to bet that the Corsair we were up against had more of a maneuverability build put on that airframe, which is viable, but then that would allow him to have been able to get those turns on us. So I kind of wonder what his setup was. So if that happens to be you and you're watching, I'd love to know what your setup is on your Corsairs. That way I can kind of figure out where I was a little bit lacking. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.